Welcome to the very first episode of Semmelweis STEMtalk. Our new interview series is dedicated to brilliant minds and inspiring life stories of women in science and research. My name is Viktória, and I'll be a host for today. We are super excited to welcome our very first guest, Dr. Viktória Zsiros. She is an associate professor at the Department of Anatomy, Histology, and Embryology of Semmelweis University. She's a vibrant and enthusiastic researcher and a much beloved educator within our university community. She also recently became a seniority mentor within the highly esteemed National Academy of Scientist Education. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Zsiros.
Thank you so much for everything, and thank you so much for having me in the show.
Thank you. Now, to start with, would you please tell us a little bit about your life and what sparked your interest in science and research?
First of all, again, just let me say that I'm very grateful that you thought of me. And I'm very, very thank you for the invitation and the request. It's my pleasure. So thank you so much for having me in the show. Look, where should I start? I completed my high school years in a Catholic high school in one of the Hungary's larger cities. I really liked studying there, and I have a lot to thank my teachers who worked there. Mm-hmm. It was a very supportive environment, and I need to say that the students were allowed to reach their full potential, so it was amazing. If someone was an art major, for example, they could apply for and attend specific courses. But if someone liked the science more, they could study the given subject in an increased number of hours. And of course, they could choose faculties. So It was amazing. I can't really say when I decided on science. But I was always an excellent student and excelled in all the subjects. But there was never a question that science and biology really interested me. I remember that I was about 8 years old when I received my first light microscope. It was an absolutely simple light microscope, and I received it as a toy for my birthday. But I was really amazed at how can I imagine, see, and magnify different things under this light microscope in detail. And from then on, I knew that the biology would be my major. Then I graduated in the high school, and I applied as a biologist.
Yes.
And I was admitted to one of the most famous universities in Hungary, into the Eötvös Loránd University.
Right.
I think, according to my opinion, the Eötvös Loránd University provides theoretical knowledge in an absolutely incredibly high standard. So I completed my undergraduate and my master's studies there. And during my master degree, I started flirting with the idea to doing a kind of TDK or research work with mammals in an external institute, which is not the ELTE. And I found a group at the Department of the Anatomy, Histology, and Embryology at the Semmelweis University, working on Epithelia mesenchymal transition. And you know, this Epithelia mesenchymal transition was very popular at the time. I learned a lot about this kind of process from tumor biology, and I knew that this is what I want to do. So this is the way how I applied to this working group, to this mentioned working group, which was headed by Professor Dr. Anna Elkis. And I will never forget when we arranged a kind of interview. And at the end of this interview, they said goodbye to me in such a way that I felt that they were waiting for me back. So I was very happy. So I joined the lab. And after 1 year of TDK work and of the master's training, I applied to the Semmelweis University's Doctoral School of Molecular Medicine, which was one of the best decisions in my life. I remember that at the beginning of my PhD years, I entered almost immediately the education. And after 2 years, I received my first groups in anatomy. It was a burden at the time because I was so stressed because of the anatomy and because of my first groups. But after the months passed and I gained more and more experience, I realized that I really like teaching and I really like the anatomy. So in a conclusion, my PhD years were very busy and very eventful, as I not just studied, but I did my own research, and I also taught the anatomy and the histology. In the last year, I remember that I went home after the work.
Yeah.
I wrote my doctoral thesis at night. I slept for 2 or 3 hours and woke up again because the anatomy and histology practices started again. So it was very difficult, but I did it. And I'm so proud of to be sitting here with a PhD degree as an assistant professor and researching what I'm interested in.
Wow, that is an incredible story and an incredible journey. It's absolutely fantastic. And do you feel like during those years you had the support that you needed at the time? And if so, who were your supporters?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely feel that I've had and still have a lot of support. My mother and my grandmother are my main supporters to this day. They spread nothing and sacrificed everything so that I could study and live here in Budapest. I still call them when I get good news and even when I get bad news. So I'm so grateful to them because without them, I would be nowhere, honestly. My other main supporter is my husband. And I'm very lucky to have such a helpful husband. He often helps me restore my self-confidence and doesn't get angry if I'm still working on a computer in 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah.
I see. And what would you say were the biggest challenges during this journey?
So, you know, I started from the countryside, from a rural high school. And after I grew up in a Catholic high school, getting into the capital's vibrant life was quite a challenge. Moving to Budapest was also a big challenge, far from my home, from my family, from my friends.
Right.
And you know, it was necessary to create an independent life in the capital, which at the age of 18 was quite terrifying. It was another big challenge that I had to build professional strategy, a kind of vision that will give tangible, successful results and useful results later, and of course a secure future. And you know, you must prove yourself in certain situations because the professional field of science presents additional challenges as a woman and as a biologist. So some of these situations were and are still challenging for me.
I think a lot of people can probably relate to a lot of things that you mentioned, both in terms of starting your life in a new place from scratch as a young adult.
Yes.
And I guess, you know, they can also relate to the challenges of the work world as well. And can you please tell us a little bit about what do you do nowadays? What sort of research do you carry out nowadays?
We work in the laboratory with a very interesting cell differentiation, which appears in several biological processes. This cell differentiation is called as epithelial mesenchymal transition, in short, just EMT. Mm-hmm. The role of the EMT and its reverse process, which is the mesenchymal epithelial transition, is essential during embryogenesis, tumorigenesis, and inflammation as well. In my lab, we proved that during Freud-adjuvant-induced inflammation, rat mesenteric mesothelia cells undergo epithelial mesenchymal transition type 2. And it's very interesting because with this kind of inflammation, we can model the spontaneous bacterial peritonitis in rats. Mm-hmm. During this EMT, the mesothelial cells produce pro-inflammatory cytokines like TGF-beta, GM-CSF, TNF-alpha, or interleukin-6, and express their special receptors. And without another Freud-adjuvant treatment, after the peak of inflammation, the mesothelial cells start to regenerate with mesenchymal epithelial transition. Mm-hmm. And this process is mediated by an intense autophagy and by several non-canonical signaling pathways induced by various BMP factors in rats' mesothelial cells. Nowadays, our working group mainly focuses on the regeneration process. We are trying to understand why there is a difference between the regeneration of females and males, and what intracellular signaling processes regulate the regeneration of mesothelial cells, especially which intracellular signaling pathways contribute to regain the original simple squamous phenotype of mesothelial cells after peritonitis. And we are also interested in whether there is a factor which is able to facilitate the regeneration after peritonitis or from peritonitis, and that can be used as a therapeutic treatment in humans. And in addition, I must emphasize that we are trying to establish a new collaboration with a children's hospital and with a foreign working group that works with patients with peritonitis and with human samples. So, rapid diagnosis and early treatment of peritonitis remains a challenge in emergency medicine. Mm-hmm. Both primary and secondary peritonitis have a high mortality rate. And I think that the regulator of these inflammatory processes in the abdominal cavity is the mesothelium. And the regulators are the mesothelial cells, which are in the focus of our investigations. So, clarifying the steps and the molecular background in both inflammation and regeneration in mesothelial cells would facilitate the diagnosis of peritonitis, the choice of therapeutic methods, and probably enable prevention.
I see. Thank you so much. That sounds really impressive. And, what would you say, doing all of these things that you do now, the research and teaching and everything, what would you say is your proudest achievement up till this point?
I couldn't really choose. I'm so proud of my PhD degree, which I couldn't have obtained without the support of my mother and grandmother and without my faith. I'm also very, very proud of the manuscripts, what we have been able to publish so far. The previous and the current results, what we have achieved and are achieving now with the perfect lab staff. And I also would like to say that I'm so proud of to able to teach and to receive a lot of love and respect from the students. I so appreciate these things, which motivate me and drive me forward.
That sounds wonderful. I mean, you are a wonderful teacher, and I think you probably get a lot of feedback because a lot of people really love, your lectures, your teaching style. It's really wonderful.
Thank you.
And given everything that you have achieved so far, and everything you've seen and everything you've learned, was there anything surprising? Was there anything that surprised you during your time in the scientific community?
One of the most unexpected was preparing for the force majeure situations and quick deadlines, which can change the already scheduled tasks and work schedules overnight.
Right.
If one of the experiments does not go well as planned.
Yes.
For example, because an order does not arrive on time, what I've learned that you should not panic, but adapt to the situation calmly and creatively and make the best of it.
I see. Now, you really do so many things on a daily basis. What does a typical day look like for you, if of course there is such a thing as a typical day?
Yes, almost every day is very busy for me. My schedule dictates what I can do on which day. On average, I have 2 or 3 practices a day. It depends on whether it is in Hungarian or in English, but I have more English practices than Hungarians. In the meantime, I also have to give a lecture to the half of the first year students because these lectures are already in the schedule in advance. And furthermore, there are fixed dates during the week when I can do some microscopy or start an experiment. In between 2 practices or in the breaks between 2 practices or late in the afternoon or in the evening, I usually deal with administrative matters, answering emails or other tasks like orders or preparing work plans.
How do you manage to juggle all of this?
Very good question. I have a priority order and a very tight schedule. My main goal is to take the right amount of time for everything and never neglect anything. It's very important to me to complete everything on time with a sufficient accuracy. And it's, I think the attitude is also very important according to my opinion. So I do not experience every task as a burden, but as a challenge. So a positive attitude helps me manage all of these tasks and responsibilities.
I couldn't agree more with you on that point about attitude being a key component of everything. And you also mentioned that, of course, and I think everybody can relate to that, not everything always goes according to plan.
Yes.
How do you manage these situations?
I try not to focus on failure and negative feedbacks or feelings because they are beyond me. I try to focus my energies on the solution.
That's very good advice, actually. Yes. Now, besides doing research and contributing to the scientific community directly, I know that you also mentor a lot of young people, the future generations of scientists. And you also recently became a senior mentor within the National Academy of Scientist Education. Yeah. Could you please tell us a little bit about what is this program and what is your role within it as a mentor?
If I remember well, in 2013, the Foundation for the Future of Biomedical Sciences in Szeged established a program which was named as Szeged Scientists Academy. And after this, based on the results, the name of the foundation was changed to National Biomedical Foundation in 2021, and the program expanded to National Academy of Scientist Education. Actually, this program guides students who are talented in science throughout the steps of becoming a scientist.
Right.
And to be honest, I didn't know about this program before. It was just a lucky coincidence that one of my TDKs or researcher students applied to this program.
Right.
The senior mentors are researchers who carry out internationally recognized scientific research and lead their own research group, and of course have a lot of publications which appear in highly prestigious scientific journals. So my main tasks in the program are the academic mentoring, tutoring, teaching the students, and giving the students opportunities to get involved in the activities of the research group, and of course holding lectures, active participation on conferences, and of course promoting the program.
I see. And, you know, I think a lot of young scientists, student researchers, they would agree that having effective mentorship is very important, and it makes a huge difference to their path, to their results, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think, in your opinion, what are the important qualities of an effective mentor that maybe you also try to incorporate into your mentorship style?
It's a very important question. You know, the attitude, treating the student as a colleague, the maximalism, the enthusiasm, the appropriate professional preparation, the conflict management, the passion, last but not least, the consistency.
I see.
I think those are very important qualities for an effective mentor. And to be honest, I consciously try to incorporate these qualities into my mentorship style.
And I'm sure your students and your mentees, they really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I'm also quite positive that a lot of people, and especially your students and mentees, they look up to you and they view you as a role model. What about you? Who are the people in your life that are role models for you?
I would definitely point out my mother first. She has been always my role model. She works in a completely different field, but the incredible maximalism, enthusiasm, the perseverance she shows in her job absolutely inspired me. She never gave up. There was never a challenge or a problem she couldn't solve. She worked a lot, a day and a night, but yet she raised me at the same time, checked my homeworks, and asked me about the curriculum before the exams, and wanted to make me a moral and honest person. So all my respect goes to her. And I'm so grateful to her for everything. I have to also point out my teachers who had a great influence on me. I became a molecular cell biologist because of the teachers who taught molecular cell biology at the university. I need to emphasize that the teachers in the Department of Anatomy and the Department of Genetics in the ETA are fantastic. And I learned a lot from them. And I also have to point out that after my PhD years, I had a good fortune to meet Dr. Anna Sebestyén, who has her own research group in the Department of Pathology and Experimental Cancer Research, in addition to her 4 children.
Wow.
And does amazingly incredible, valuable work in her field.
Wow, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Now, before we come to the end of our interview, we would like to ask you, do you have any advice for young people, and maybe specifically for young girls who are interested in sciences and are interested in research, but maybe feel a little bit intimidated by the possible challenges?
I do not mean it as a cliche, but don't be afraid to make your dreams come true. Set a goal for yourself, just focus on it, and never let it distract you from it. It's very important, according to my opinion, that all the young people should listen to the much more experienced generation, to their parents, to their grandparents, and take the advice of the elderly. Probably do not know what opportunities a degree in natural science offers, but they have much more life experience, and they can shed light on things that may also help, and that may also be important in planning. According to my opinion, they should face the obstacles with courage and do not expect that from one minute to the next they will achieve resoundingly successful results and world-class results, because everybody has worked hard.
Right.
A career in science is a profession, and it's important to know that if they choose this path, they should approach their studies and their work later with humility and respect. And at the end, being smart as a woman is a challenge even today, I think. But what I can advise that, don't worry, girls. If someone who wants to pursue an academic career as a woman can still have private life, family, and of course later children.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and your experiences and your insights. It was a huge honor to have you here today with us.
Thank you very much. I really hope that I was able to help the young people and the students who are interested in science. And I really hope that I was able to motivate them just a little.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've managed to achieve all of those things. Thank you.
Thank you very much.